Hey guys, what's up? Once again, we are back with another football prediction. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Help me reach my goal of 1,100 subscribers before the end of July. Help me hit that goal by hitting that subscribe button down below. Like this video if you enjoy it. Comment all your thoughts and opinions down below as always. Also, make sure that you let me know what your thoughts are on record predictions, thoughts on national championship hopes as we talk about the Trojans and Lincoln Riley's second year with the program. Also, I'm sure you're going to have some interesting thoughts as I am a Notre Dame fan. I will say that up front, but it should be a good video. Also, make sure you check out the podcast, the Patreon page, and the website. All links are in the description, as well as checking out College Football Roundup, which is our secondary channel here with American Football Network, where we do all sorts of content there. So let's make our way over to the schedule. So as we talk about USC's schedule, they start off with a game against San Jose State. This is kind of an interesting matchup. San Jose State is a program that had a couple of years of success. There's nothing wrong, particularly with the San Jose State program. They had a couple of years in which they played decently, but overall they're a pretty struggling program that has a lot of work to do if they want any sort of relevance, even in the Mountain West. But overall, this is going to be a win for Southern Cal. It's not going to be a difficult game. They should get a win there pretty easily. There should be no issue to get a win over San Diego State, or San Jose State, I'm sorry. Then you play the Nevada Wolfpack. Nevada in an interesting spot as a program. They have a lot of just general work that they need to do. This program has struggled since Carson Strong has left. They definitely are a team in which they have a lot of work that needs to be done. And with Southern Cal, you have a quarterback coming back in Caleb Williams, who is just simply the best quarterback in the nation, and it's not very close. So I think that gives you a massive advantage there. And last year, Nevada had a really, really tough season, going 2-10 after Jay Norvell left to go be the Colorado State head coach. This program really fell off, having an 8-5 season the previous year, now really struggling. But you are looking at a win there. Then you have Stanford on the schedule. Stanford, they have a new head coach this year, and to put it mildly, it is going to be a rough season for them. Stanford has, they're going to have a new quarterback, as well as, like I said, a new head coach in Troy Taylor. Troy Taylor was the former head coach at Sacramento State. But you have a new quarterback in Ari Patu, and you only have 3 returning starters on each side of the ball. At least you bring back your starting running back in E.J. Smith. But other than that, you are really looking at a very lackluster team that, to be honest, if they win 3 games this year, I would be absolutely shocked, because I don't think that you're going to beat Notre Dame again. So I think that you're probably going to end with less than 3 wins there. Then you have Arizona State on the schedule. This is this is going to be an easy win in Tempe. I think with just a simple, just really it comes down to the fact that Arizona State with Dillingham as their new head coach is just really in a spot in which you have Drew Pine as your quarterback. And I like, as a Notre Dame fan, Drew Pine is not awful, but by no means is he going to be a great quarterback for them. And I think that there's going to be a lot of struggles here for this game. Then you have a road game against Colorado. I think that this is a pretty easy W. I think Colorado, you have a lot of top-level talent. There's a lot of top-tier guys, just Score Sanders and Travis Hunter, and even Alton McCaskill. You have a lot of guys at that top level in which can be very good, but overall you're looking at a very weak team. I do think that you get a win there. Then you host the Arizona Wildcats, and this is kind of one of the first games that I do kind of want to talk about, as that first half of the schedule is pretty easy. But now as you get into the back half, it definitely gets a little bit tougher. Arizona as a program is in a decent place. They have 8 returning offensive starters, only 3 on the defense. But really on the offense, you're looking at Jaden DeLora at quarterback. Had a really good season with almost 3,700 yards, 25 touchdowns, 62.5% completion percentage. You bring back your running back, Michael Wiley. And then you also have your the star wide receiver that you brought in, the 5-star guy, McMillan. And I think that this is a team that is going to be on the rise after in the 2 previous seasons going a combined 1-16. I think that you have a lot to work to do as Arizona, but I think that Jedd Fisch has this program heading in the general right direction. So, and yes, I do think that USC at the end of the day does have the bodies in order to get the win, and I do think that they do get that place. So this all comes down, and really this schedule comes down to this game. It comes down to the Notre Dame game on the road in mid-October. It really is a game that is going to define this season, good, bad, or ugly. If you win this game, you are almost guaranteed a spot in the playoff as long as you win out. Even if you lose a game. I think if you lose to Notre Dame, that makes your pathway a lot more difficult, because if you lose to Notre Dame, most likely Notre Dame will be 11-1, and then you're looking at comparing yourself to an 11-1 Notre Dame team in which you lost to Notre Dame. You're looking at a really tough road ahead. So I think that if you're going to have any shot at the playoff, you definitely have to win here. But I think when it comes to, at the end of the day, last year it was a tough game. It was a hard-fought game. USC pretty much dominated for most of the game, winning 38-27. And when I mean dominated, let's just put it mildly and say the refs they held that penalty flag for holding on that USC offensive line pretty much the entire game. The referees did not exist until the midway through the fourth quarter, when they finally threw a holding flag for just blatantly, just absolutely terrible refereeing in that game. I'm not saying that Notre Dame would have won that game, but I am saying it was a terrible job on the referees, as they did referee that game. But when it comes down to it, I think when this game is played, I think Notre Dame, with a actual starting quarterback in Sam Hartman, and with a much more experienced offense and offensive weapons, I do think Notre Dame ends up winning this game. Plus, this game is in Notre Dame, so I think that gives Notre Dame an advantage. With it being a home game, this is a game that it's a rivalry game. It's going to be a fun one. I think that these teams, especially if Notre Dame beats Ohio State, this is probably going to be as big of a matchup as the Bush Push game was. Probably not as, okay, I take that back. Probably not as big of a matchup was, but it is going to be pretty close to that same level of hype if Notre Dame was able to come into that game undefeated. And I think USC would come into that game undefeated, and you'd probably be looking at 2 top 5 teams. Then you have a home game against Utah, and this is a game that I really struggled with. Between the Notre Dame and Utah game, I do think that you lose one of them. I think they're too physical teams, and they're just going to maul you, that if you do beat Notre Dame, you're probably going to lose to Utah. And to be honest, even if you do lose to Notre Dame, there's a very good chance that you lose to Utah as well, because these two teams are probably the most 2 physical teams on your schedule. And the offensive and defensive lines have always been a problem / an issue for the Lincoln Riley-led teams. They've always been something that they needed to work on. There's been talented players, but not really guys that consistently can just be maulers in that front line. So I think that you do end up getting the win here. I think that you do win one of these 2 games, but by no means is it a walk in the park. Speaking of walks in the park, that does describe Cal this season, though, with Justin Wilcox pretty much on a seat of flames. I do think that this is a game in which I don't know whether he'll even be coaching. I do think Jaden Ott, the running back, sophomore running back that had a great season last year, who had about 950 yards last year, I think that he is in a good Jaden Ott is in a good position, but I think that this team is in a terrible position. And I think Justin Wilcox, to be honest, I'm surprised he's still here in his 7th year. And went 4-8 last year. This is a coach that has a 30-36 record and has really not performed since 2019 when the team went 8-5. Then you have a home game against the Huskies. And I think if this game was up in Seattle, I think that this would be a win for the Huskies. But with this game being in Southern Cal, I am going to give the win to the Trojans. I think at the end of the day, the big factor in this game is going to be Caleb Williams, just his X-factorness, his Heisman presence, and I think just the ability to be able to escape, the ability to be able to get out of contain and stuff like that. I do think that that gives him a massive advantage when it comes to that. Then you have a road game against Oregon. This is gonna be another tough game. This second half of the schedule is just brutal. At Notre Dame, Utah, at Cal, Washington, at Oregon, and UCLA. Really, Cal is the only easy game on the schedule. And even then, it may be a reinvigorated team after a coach got let go. Sometimes that can help a team. Sometimes it can hinder a team. It kind of depends on the type of environment and how the players felt about the coach. But when it comes down to it, I do think that you beat Oregon. I think that you do win this game. I just think that you're better than Oregon. And even though I do like Bo Nix, and I think that Oregon and Dan Lanning is in a good spot, I just think that Caleb Williams, being the X factor that he is, I do think that he gets a win. Finally, I'm going to give you a win against UCLA. I think Chip Kelly and Dante Moore and crew is in a decent spot as a program, but they are probably one of the worst off teams in the Pac-12 this year, just because all the other big-time Pac-12 programs of Oregon and Oregon State and USC and Washington and even Arizona to a degree, and even Colorado to that extent, all of these teams have quarterbacks. Utah has a quarterback, and UCLA is breaking in a freshman. So I think that USC finished with a 11-1 record. I think it's a solid year for USC. I think that they're in a good spot to compete for a playoff, but I think that game, I think a playoff position really hinges on that Notre Dame game, because if Notre Dame wins it, then you're in a much tougher spot, because Notre Dame would take that spot over USC if both teams were 11-1. So that's going to wrap it up for today. Make sure you hit 2 videos down below and the subscribe button up here will help me reach 111 subscribers by the end, or 1,100 subscribers by the end of July. As always, have a great day. Bye.